All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about this project that I've been putting together in Unity, and you're going to teach myself Cinemachine, so just show a game first. So what this is I've been starting to put together an animated set using Cinemachine to orchestrate them. Probably the thing that'll be interesting on mine is how I organize things so that I can have the voice syncs mapped with the characters. And so this is a little bit tricky, and it's still a work in progress in terms of getting it to work, because like when you saw as we were scrubbing through, right, in the various Cinemachine tracks, there is no audio, which means if you're syncing shots against people's faces and you want to have their lips moving, it's very hard to do. So what I feel like other people are going to talk about the mechanics of Cinemachine, so I'm talking more about using it as a compositional tool. So where I ended up, and you'll see that in addition to kind of the Cinemachines that Laura was showing, there's this activation track. And basically what the activation track lets you do is turn an object on in Unity. And so what you can do then is create a timeline attached to a game object, put all of the animation that you want to happen in that particular timeline, and then activate it. So it gives you the ability to build scenes as independent objects and then string them together, and then use Cinemachine to orchestrate the shots between them. So you'll see I have a truly absurd number of unique Cinemachine cameras here. So I'll show this in just a second, but you see kind of each character has a near and a far camera, cameras pointing at objects. And some of these are, I'm using a tool called Salsa for lip synchronization. So you can load in an audio track and then it will match with a character. Let me show just a little bit of this. The one thing, and I'll come to some kind of tips and tricks. The one thing that Lauren didn't do, and I wish I had realized not to do, and you absolutely shouldn't do, is on the camera, attach a Cinemachine directly to that object. You don't touch the camera object, you create objects that have timelines that you put a camera into, because it's really hard to organize things if the timeline and the Cinemachine are directly on the camera object. I say this because it would have saved me a good 40 hours of screaming at my computer.
I also ran into the screaming thing. It's good for a tip.
Yeah.
Move your stuff off the camera.
Yeah. The other one that really blew my mind, so there's a lot of character animation here, and I built these characters in DAZ, and you can create animators and attach them to objects that will corrupt and destroy your Cinemachine track in such a way that it cannot be fixed. I have some of these animations of death. DAZ 3D is a great way of generating them. Don't use DAZ 3D animations. They totally corrupt Cinemachine cameras. So this is rebuilt since Saturday when I incorporated one of those animations and it deleted the Cinemachine. Just going to give you a couple minutes of it. It's only 6 minutes, but I'll probably do it.
What'd you rebuild it in?
I just had to recreate the whole Cinemachine track from scratch.
Oh, I see.
The opacity of the eyelashes.
I'm not really a great person. This is really the right place to be starting this story. I think it's better if we take it back about 50 years. Feel like 50 years. So let's take the story back to when Billy found the first time started us all down this path. He didn't tell us about this until many years later.
Switching back and forth between Cinemachine focused on their face and side.
So much more sense.
Why are you not putting it in your face?
Because I rebuilt it since Saturday.
Alright, yeah.
I'd been in school about 2 weeks at that point. Still exploring the grounds, mostly because I'd never been out in the country. There were marshes and forests and hills, and I found
It's
I
like a
loved nature.
subtract that's being activated.
So I would spend all of my time hiking. I was hiking down by the soccer fields, I think. Behind a tree, just lying on the ground, was the most beautiful object I had ever seen. It was an amulet run through with a broken string to hold it in place. Lying in the forest and glimmering.
I should be hard for this.
So I took it.
This is reasonable results from material like that.
So that's what happens if you don't. If you tie two Cinemachines and so it's pointing at a character
it's
that's really
looping.
far away, so it's.
I wouldn't say I hated school, but I wasn't always there.
So I'm gonna kind of stop it there. Because I feel like I've shown enough of the
physically
pieces that I
alone?
wanted to demo.
Sort of. Sometimes.
Is it not paying attention to
But really, I was always in my own world.
So in terms of that piece, in terms of tips and tricks, in terms of that piece where it like zoomed way across the screen, it was because I was creating these as composites. And what you need to do when you create them as composites is make sure that for whatever character you're following with the Cinemachine, you have a start and an end animation for their movement, because otherwise Cinemachine will, when you string them together, try to interpolate the movement from the end of wherever this character was here to them being a movement to the other. So it'll draw the animation, the animation as though you had strung them across, and you get that. I mean, I think it's kind of cool effect, but that effect where you're just kind of flying through the bottom of the screen.
Real fast, I could be wrong with this, but isn't that like that blend time a variable you set on the virtual camera? Like if you open one up and you set it to 0, just always cut when you're blending?
If you're using the same camera on the character,
Yeah.
right? So the character is here on the screen, right? And then
Oh, I
the
see.
next
So it's
thing they're
one
here,
virtual camera.
right?
Yeah.
If I don't put a stop and an end on the animation that I'm following,
Mm-hmm.
it will try to draw the line as though I was drawing an animation moving from here to here, and the Cinemachine camera will follow it the whole way.
Okay.
It's kind of an artifact of how I built this, but in terms of being able to work scene by scene, because eventually, see, this is the simplified and composited version. You see, that's a lot of tracks to be handling, and being able to not hear the audio makes it very tricky.
Sure.
That first minute of it, I feel like I've heard hundreds of times. I'm sure I've heard it hundreds of times because I need to hear it to play through.
So I think he's right though. If you make the time like 0 or like whatever, you should just cut. You should just like hard.
Yeah, there should be a way. There's probably like 10 ways to do it, right?
Yeah.
So, like make that cut
Hard
happen.
cut.
Yeah. But, right. So,
But that was mine in terms of being able to start treating segments of this as though they're components, right? Just have the beginning and the end, because then you don't have to think about that, right? You just say cut.
sure.
Just a couple of- So just a couple of other ones to. So I said, creating front and end so that you can move between them. Also getting the main animations right. So I started with very simple Cinemachine cameras when I was building this, and then once I had it working, then you can add additional cameras, because you can always just throw more Cinemachines on top of them. Also with the virtual camera, and not so much with the real camera, with the virtual camera, it's super easy to overrun the camera in terms of having objects that it's following move much faster than the camera is able to follow them, especially if you're looking at an object face on and it's heading towards you. You can just run right past that camera and it'll flip around and not get that effect of the kind of push-pull
I
intro.
realized there was a max speed on that. That seems like something you should be able to override, right? Like the maximum follow speed shouldn't be set super low. Yeah.
I couldn't. I mean, maybe
Right,
there's
yeah.
a way to do it, but I couldn't find it.
So we're
And
gonna
it
do
was
everything
just,
eventually, right?
I mean, I think the answer is use the clear shot camera or use
Okay, that's probably right. Anyway,
It's probably also frame rate related too.
could be. Yeah, like some stuff doesn't work in Unity just by default. My favorite example was the Kerbal Space Program. I had to like rewrite. They had to make double versions of all the basic Unity float classes because their spaceships just kept breaking apart at high speeds. It's kind of like a thing like this, right? You're not supposed to use Cinemachine at high speeds; it just breaks.
it just breaks.
So yeah, I believe it. Anyway.
The one that I learned, you can absolutely put character animations that will corrupt the timeline, and the error message is just failed to initiate. And you need to go through object by object and just delete things, and then realize that you need to delete the whole cine track and start again.
So you have to create separate character animations for the cinema, and then cinema just moves the camera. You can't animate the characters within it, right? Is that correct or no?
Yeah, like the character animation that I was doing in timeline. So in timeline, I would put an animation on a character of the character moving, and then Cinemachine is what's looking at that character as they're moving.
Okay.
But I don't know. It was unclear bug to me. Some questions I still have. I tried to add audio clips, so there was background music. There's actually a version of this that I did in Premiere.
You mean in timeline or
In timeline, in Cinemachine, it just would not. I'm on 2018.1, so maybe that's a bug there. But the volume of the background tracks I couldn't control, so it was always substantially louder than the audio.
You could just use what do you call it, a sound mixer, and just put it in there and control it.
Control it like that. Okay.
Well, there's just the import settings, right? For in every audio file, you can just change the imported volume. I thought, maybe not.
Yeah, you can, but the proper way of
Dynamically.
doing it is just simply use
The sound mixer.
sound mixer. You got it.
Equalize.
Feed everything into the sound mixer.
They're always so janky. I've never found a sound package I liked. If anyone knows one, happy to hear about it. Anyway,
Getting good character animation. So the characters came out of DAZ. The DAZ animations do not import well into Unity.
what is DAZ?
DAZ 3D is a 3D modeling program. Comes with a whole bunch of, mostly for like character animation. So it comes with a whole bunch of generic people that you can then parameterize and change.
It's been around for a long time.
It was Posner originally.
It was Posner originally.
Fractal
Oh, maybe. I'm aware of it.
Yeah, I just kind of wish there was a way to hear audio when you're scrubbing. It would make things much easier.
One of the things you can do is you can show the audio profile in the timeline track. So if you're seeing something and you know where it is, you can decide, okay, this is where I'm putting it.
I did a little bit of that, but it's just hard to be like, what, if you're trying to match things to specific words, it gets tricky to get that timing right. But yeah, I could do it.
Oh, so is your voicing sort of manual? Are you like moving the guys' voices?
No, the voice is getting plugged into,
Plug?
there's a plugin called Salsa, so on each one of these characters,
Would you recommend it if you had to do voicing again? Would you find something else or use Salsa again?
for $20, it's great.
That's pretty good.
I've been playing with it a little bit. As a style, I think the way it's animating things is accurate to how people talk, but in this style, I've been playing with some of the more extreme settings to get more of that kind of anime face thing.
Would you be able to like pipe its output into like say, the way South Park animates Canadians, right? Where it just takes the hinge of the head and goes like that. Would Salsa handle that kind of animation?
Yeah, their site has a whole bunch of different animations that they show with it.
It's how you set up the blend shapes, I think, right? In the
Yep.
mouth, and you feed it in.
Their integration with Timeline is beta. Actually, maybe the thing is broken. But they've been really responsive. I sent them a couple of bug issues and they turned them around in the day. So,
Salsa.
Yeah, so salsa. So there's they have default mappings for a whole bunch of popular character programs, but there was one for Daz that worked out of the box. And then in the timeline, do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing, in terms of Cinemachine being attached to the camera. You can just add a salsa track targeting whatever the animation is.
It'll also do random eye movement.
Neat. Because that's what
And
you
they're-
do, I guess, right? But, yeah.
They're also working on one for eye tracking. So like if you want your character to follow like a certain object moving through the scene, you can be like, the eyes of this character should follow. So kind of like the
But
example
like
you showed
realistically,
before.
right? It's
Yep.
really easy to just look at on update, but
Mhm.
presume like pseudo-realistically, like humans would
It
look at something.
blinks and yeah.
Yeah, right. Neat.
Version control. This convinced me that I need to get this tied up to version
Just
control.
learn Git, dude. Come on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just you get
Get over it.
Get
There's no real answer. Yeah,
Git bucket.
what is the Unity thing? It still sucks.
Collabs.
Collabs.
It
Really?
doesn't work that
Good
well
now?
for Unity. It's
Yeah.
big
Wait,
files and
what?
stuff. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, you're saying collab you've worked with and you've enjoyed it?
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Really?
Yeah.
Guys, it did suck at some point, right? I'm not just pulling that on my butt.
Better than Git.
Real was fun?
Well,
okay, well, we're
there's a
just
lot of
so
file
I buy that.
For Unity specifically, yeah.
Yeah,
Unity
I know it's
has these
intended-
lock files and this weird stuff that Git just doesn't like to.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm using Bitbucket right now with Git. Haven't had any problems yet.
Right. I mean, these are the first positive comments I've heard about Collaborate, but it's great. If it's sort of
I use it in my
it's
workflow. It's
fantastic.
great. It's a quick way to just back up a project and just not worry about it.
So there's sort of your answer, right?
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Try Collaborate in the services tab.
And it's all in the application. So,
Yeah, that's all in it. Yeah.
Especially if you're testing multiplayer stuff, updating them.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah. Baking. Oh, there's a setting in lightings. Yeah, auto bake
There's a
off.
setting in lighting.
Yeah, in what Windows settings lighting, at the very bottom, there's a checkbox for auto
Makes me
bake.
crazy.
Yeah, no, I hate it. That's why I don't like. That's why I miss 5.6, right? Because it didn't just break all of your builds out of the box without you messing with the auto baking setting. Anyway,
My last one was just some other stuff, like talking about Daz, salsa. It started to play with MoSketch, which is a bone animation software out of, I want to say, Switzerland. Where you just draw the line figure that you want, and it just does all the rest. It's pretty cool. Substance or Blender, Cubase, whatever.
Sorry, I'm
What I got?
any other questions? Yay! I was going to say questions. Anyone got questions about the animation? Any inspiration for your people in the style?
It is the prequel. I have been over many years writing this very long, elaborate sci-fi trilogy that, frankly, I'm the only person in the world who cares about. And this is a prequel to the beginning of it.
Coming up. Sorry, I saw a hand over there. Someone like cut off. Sorry. Well, I ruined it. Sorry, guys. All right. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks.